coefficient of static friction. Objective: to determine the coefficient of static friction and the coefficient of kinetic friction of an object. Introduction and theory.
Data and result. The data was collected from the experiment and was tabulated, and the forces were calculated. The coefficient of friction then was calculated using the formula. The graph then were plotted to study the relationship between friction force and normal force.
And this is analysis and discussion for this experiment. Now we can see the difference of the two graphs that has plotted between the two different surfaces. Question and answer as a discussion for this experiment.
Conclusion. Based on the info of the experiment administered by our group, we will conclude that the coefficient of static and kinetic friction differs when subjected to the two different types of fabric surfaces. This will be observed by the info collected in Table 2. The coefficient of static and kinetic friction is at the highest between aluminium and aluminium, while it's rock bottom for glass on glass. By pertaining to an equivalent table, we will also conclude that the result of the static and kinetic friction on the plate with the angle of 20 degree is nearly an equivalent because the plane with the angle of 0 degree. This means that the angle of the plane has little or no effect on the worth of static and kinetic friction. By observing the graph 1.1 till 1.4, we will determine the connection between the frictional force and therefore the normal force The frictional force is directly proportional to the translational force, and therefore the ratio of frictional force and normal force is that the value of static friction.